This is a Huddle Sports Network broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, Facebook, and of course YouTube. Get all your NFL news here first.
Hey, good evening. Guess what? It's just me. It's the Halas Report Wednesday edition. We got people at work, people in the emergency room being sick. So get well, Dan. Get well, Woody. Mike is in a meeting. I think he's been in a meeting or a roof most Wednesdays. So hey, the final Halas Hall of the regular season for the Bears and we beat the Packers. There was going to be a show today. I didn't care about getting it by myself. There was going to be a show. The Bears beat the Packers. Finally, the streaks are over. There is no more losing streak. They end by winning Sunday. They end the 11 straight victory streak of the Green Bay Packers. The 10-game losing streak they had for the season. And the road game losing streak they had going back over 2 seasons. All three end. Caleb gets his first last possession drive for a win. So his first fourth quarter comeback win. Finally, he's gotten close all year. Santos gets redemption for week 11. So a lot of things. Did we switch in the draft? Yeah, we dropped to 10. I think the best we could have done was 7. We were sitting at 9. We went to 10. But I'm a Bears fan. I want to beat the Packers. I don't care. So we beat the Packers. That's done. Caleb is now 1-0 at Lambeau. He's done what Justin could never do, and that's beat the Packers. In 3 years, Justin never even got close. Um, so that's where we're at. Now we're into uh, head coach melee that preceded. For the post game, that there wasn't much about said about the head coaching situation. We won the game. That was more than enough. Um, Close game. Knew it'd be close in a second. Knew it'd be a close game. Another, 2 games for the Packers this year. Grand total of 3 points between both games is the amount of separation. Yep. All right. Send you the link. On the way. There we go. So yeah, I mean, 3 points between both games. That's your complete separation between these teams this year. Look, it's not like this Bears team wasn't good this year. This was a good Bears team that lacked direction, coaching, and the ability to finish games. Got a little unlucky a few times, and we didn't really get the luck facing going our way much at all. There were some lucky plays or calls throughout the season, but for the most part, if there was a 50-50 call, wasn't us. That may change. But this was overall a pretty decent team. Now, and we showed that again Sunday by sticking in this game. Look at this is a game the Packers wanted to win. Oh, here comes Mike. There's Mike. This was a game the Packers wanted to win. They said as much before the game. They wanted to win this game, and they couldn't win this game, and they almost lost both their quarterbacks. They lost a wide receiver, and they weren't risking Josh Jacobs after that happened, and they kind of pulled him. Good evening, Mike. How you doing?
I'm all right. I couldn't see you by yourself, man. So I
Yeah,
decided to get over here.
it hasn't happened in a while, but this was the second time it's happened in 2 years. So yeah, second time in
Yeah,
5 years.
I'm in the middle of cooking dinner, so I'm moving around. You'll hear some shit, but I'm here. But yeah, the game. I don't care if we lost to, or I care we beat Malik Willis or starters were out. You know what? Jordan Love was just fine. Come back in. That's what they said, right? But if we would have lost,
Yep. Oh, and I lost Mike just like that. He'll be back hopefully. Good evening, Broski. Yeah, look at they wanted to win. Actually, if you watch that replay, for those who have the game taped on a DVR or something, or have the ability to do so, watch the injury to Jordan Love. He hit his elbow not once but twice in that play. He got the double stinger. And he just didn't feel right the rest of the game. And then Malik almost went out. We almost put him out of the game as well. So I don't blame Josh Jacobs for not playing much at all. Actually, I don't think he played at all in the second half. I don't blame the Packers for that, but it's not. They wanted to win that game. Don't don't here's my don't let Packer fans fool you. They wanted to win that game. What's
can
funny
you hear
though,
me?
yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, you just dropped off for a moment. Um,
Technical difficulties.
we know about those here with Restream. Uh, we've had our fair share of that this season. Um, but it was a good game, man. What do you think of the game itself, Mike?
It was good. Got some stuff to clean up. You know, I can only see a screen to DJ Moore so many times.
Yeah, I don't get the third down screen to DJ Moore. What is it with Bears coaches? Well, I know what it is, but
We're
still, like,
three and six. We're third and 16, and we're throwing screen passes.
well, like I know why they do it because we see when it works, right? But it doesn't work on third down. I don't think. I don't think it worked on third down at all this year. It works on first down
Well,
sometimes, second down in a blue moon, but third down they all know it's coming.
I get it if you're trying to get into field goal range. If you feel
Ah, lost them again. But it just feels like every time we ran it, teams knew it was coming, and DJ would just get smothered. I mean, he look at that. We ran that play sometimes this year, and DJ will get some yards. Sometimes 3 yards, sometimes 10. Okay, we're bringing it. Here we go. Back again.
going
Back,
on.
there we go. But it's like we never, but every time we ran that play on third down, it got blown up. It got blown. Excuse me, it got blown up every time.
Yeah, yeah. And then DJ dropping that ball. Oh my God. We all like my heart just came. My soul just left my body.
When that drop, I was like, oh, here's how we've hey,
Yep,
we've been fighting
it
new and
was
into
coming.
space blues. Here we go. That's what I thought.
Yeah. Caleb, he didn't throw for a lot of yards, but he was inaccurate at times. But he made the plays that he needed to make to win the game.
Yeah, Michael, I agree with you. Broski, I also agree with you on that with the screens. They work, but when you use them as much as we do, they don't work. Uh, Mike, did you hear the interesting thing about that final play that led to the field goal, though?
What's that?
That was not the play that was called by the coaching staff. We lost him again. Caleb Williams changed that play and ran one of his own to get to DJ Moore. That was his play. He ran, he took control, and made that completion to DJ that set up Cairo for the game-winning field goal. That was not what the coaches called. Um, that's twice at the end of a game now he's done that. The other time that we know for sure he's done that. I should say two that we know for sure was the Detroit game where he went to DJ again, and of course there wasn't even close to what we needed. Uh, but that was a Caleb play. Uh, yeah, they probably had a wide receiver screen, broski, is what they did, and Caleb said, "Yeah, we're not going to do that." Um, so I hope whoever the next coach is, we don't do that stuff anymore. Needless to say, here are some things while I wait for Michael to try to come back that we were looking for that did not happen. DeAndre Swift did not get 106 yards rushing. He ended up like, what was it, 40 or 60, something like that. He was woefully short. Still not a bad season for DeAndre Swift. The problem with him is he's got to get to the outside. He's not a run it through the middle kind of guy. He did a couple nice runs through the middle throughout the year, but he's got to break it. He's got to break it around the edge. He's that kind of guy. But he had some nice runs for us this year. We'll see what he can do next year. And then, of course, DJ did not get 120 yards receiving to have another 1,000-yard year. Relatively close, but then again, he split a lot of receptions this year with Keenan and DJ, or I mean Keenan and Rome. So that kind of led to him not having as many yards. So those are things that we were looking for to happen, and it didn't actually happen. It would have been nice to see either of those guys get their 1,000 yards. Look, statistically, this Bears team did really well on the individual player level this year. Overall, a lot of Bears players did statistically well. Where we didn't do well was as a team. We couldn't put points on the board for parts of the year. We couldn't close games from the bye week on. And actually, you can even argue we couldn't put games away even before the two we lost. We could have won at least one of them. Probably most notably the Indianapolis game. So this is a team that did well overall for the season. Other ways we can look at it, we're undefeated in 2025. So there's that. Broski says Swift is a solid running back, but he's not a workhorse running back. He's a change of pace back. He's way overpaid. I probably agree with all of that, Broski. The overpaid piece, that one's a little bit harder, but yeah, I even agree with that. But with what contracts were last year, and I think like just us wanting to make sure we got a running back, I think that's why we overpaid a little bit because we lost out on our number one target. And so we just wanted to make sure we got a guy. Of course, hindsight being what it is, if we would have waited 7 hours or so, we could have had Aaron Jones. But with our luck, we would have gotten him and he would have been hurt all year. But the workhorse is supposed to be Roshan. Rojo is supposed to be the workhorse. Swift the change. And we saw early in the year they didn't do that at all until Brown took over. When Brown took over, we saw more Roshan. That opened up Swift some. Yeah, I agree. But I think if they would have used Roshan more as the beat him up in the middle workhorse, Swift might have earned that money more by good. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear you come back in, Mike. I think that Swift would have earned that money with more touchdowns than what he did. But given for what running backs were going for last year, and the Bears, I think, just wanting to make sure they got a good one, I think that's why we overpaid. What do you think, Mike?
What's that? I missed it.
Let me. We're talking about DeAndre Swift.
He's got to have a good old line. He doesn't see the whole. I mean, there's games where he'll have like one or two good runs and that's it, and then he'll be gone for 3 or 4 games.
Yeah, I mean,
I think there was a 4-game stretch where he had under 40 yards rushing.
I mean, that's like the Washington game. He busted that big run for the first touchdown. And he did it from what? The outside. He got to the outside. If he can get to the outside, Swift is going to break it off. But he's not a run through the middle guy. That's more Roshan. Yeah, $8 million was expensive considering what we let Montgomery go for.
I don't think Montgomery wanted to come back anyway.
That might have been it partially too as well. But we lost out on Saquon. I can understand why the team may have overspent. But we could have gotten for a few bucks more Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, we could have. Well,
But I'm not.
We're dealt the hand that we got.
I mean,
Right? We're dealt the hand we
I'm
got.
not unhappy. I'm not unhappy with Swift for the season. Look, he almost pulled off a 1,000-yard season with one of the worst running.
The second cheapest
Yeah, with
O-line.
an O-line that was one of the worst
in the
run
league.
blocking this year. And he still almost pulled off 1,000 yards.
But that's no excuse. I mean, we saw Saquon do it in New York, and that O-line is just as bad as ours.
I think we were ranked. Let me see if I can see what we're ranked real quick on that. It's not good.
I mean, he's definitely got to come in next year playing a whole lot better. Maybe with a better O-line, he will.
I mean, 27th ranked offense, 12th ranked defense is where we finished on PFF. Special teams at 20, only because we got the touchdown in the last week, probably. I don't know, man. That offensive line, I mean, was pretty bad against the one that overall.
It's bad.
Now, I think that we're a little more solid with the line at the end of the season than we were at the beginning. I wish this would have been the starting five all year. Jones at the left tackle, Wright at the right tackle, Jenkins at the left guard, Pryor at the right guard, and Shelton at center. And we would have been okay a lot better for the year. That combination only played like a handful of games together. That's the other piece. We need an offensive line that can like string 4 or 5 games together. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, did you see the Tevin Jenkins presser?
Yeah, where he's 50-50 about coming back.
Yeah, so I don't think he's coming back.
No, I mean,
I think he wants to start fresh somewhere else.
I think it was very pragmatic of him, like he's been in all his press conferences. Like at the beginning of the year, he's like, I know I need to stay healthy to get paid. That's my goal. I need to be healthy. He knows, and I think he left it open to coming back or giving the Bears the opportunity to let him go, but not have it be acrimonious. Where if he leaves, it's like, okay, I get it. You know what I mean? I think he wants to be back. He wants to be back, but I mean, he's like, well, I don't know if the Bears want me back. I can't stay healthy.
Yeah, if he stays, he's not going to have the deal he wants.
But he's not going to get that kind of deal from anyone. Like
anywhere,
exactly.
So he doesn't really have a choice.
I mean, look, if he gets $3 to $5 million a year for Chicago, that's good.
Yeah. And you know what? And if he decides to leave, I guarantee he's going to go to a team. Not saying he's going to be a Pro Bowler or anything, but he'll go to a team that's already in a rebuild,
and he'll be healthy.
He'll be cheap.
Be healthy. No, I think the Bears re-sign him. If the price is right, I think the Bears re-sign him. And I think they re-signed Pryor, who graded out really well, and he basically went anywhere they told him to, and he didn't do as good the tackle positions as he did the guard positions. At right guard, he did great. But we definitely have to be a free agency or draft some O-line. We get that. But
you don't take was that Campbell? I think he's out of LSU or Texas. I think.
Yeah, I haven't even really started looking up. But here. Let me do it this way. We'll make it simple. If I look at the Bears roster right now, and I look at the offensive lineman on it, okay.
Well, I know the Bears signed some.
They signed some future things, and that's not much.
Austin Reed is coming back.
Like Glasser, whatever. He's not going to go somewhere else. Fine. Shelton, I re-signed, especially if I can't get the kid from Atlanta.
If he can't get anything better,
you can't get an upgrade.
If you can't upgrade, then just re-sign him back. Give him a nice little contract. Keep him happy.
Doug Kramer.
You definitely go one through the draft though. Go get a rookie in the draft in the later rounds.
Draft is the future replacement maybe. Yeah. Doug Kramer, rookie class He was drafted in 22. Same
Yep.
thing. I can let him walk. I don't care. He can get cut. Jake Sherhan,
Yeah. Honestly, if I need a fullback, go get Kari
Sherhan
back.
can get cut. Bill Murray can get cut. Pryor had
Bro Murray was good when he was healthy. He just can't
42
stay healthy.
snaps. That's what he played this year on the other end. 42.
Yeah. He was. I mean, in my eyes,
So
he
one
was
game,
terrible,
pretty
terrible,
much like
but-
one full game. Matt Pryor, I re-signed. Ryan Bates, I'd let walk. He spent all that money for 105 snaps, and he did not grade well.
Bates out of here.
Tevin Jenkins, I'd re-sign for the money. Darnell Wright, of course, I'm keeping. Kieran, I'm keeping. He's a rookie. Braxton Jones, of course, I'm keeping him. And Larry Borum is an interesting cat. Larry Borum for me is interesting because I don't want to keep him, but I don't want to just let him walk either. Does that make sense?
If you have 10 guys on the offensive line, he's definitely number 10.
He's a guy, when you watch him, if he comes in for a series or two series or has to finish out a game for someone, you're okay. You're fine. He's gonna. He's great for that.
If Braxton needed a
If
break,
you need a spot start,
okay, take a
for
break.
Braxton, 1 week,
If it's against like the Raiders, maybe not somebody else.
One sack. They gave up. The Bears gave up 1 sack to Green Bay.
And we were worried that Caleb was going to set the record.
Look at Borum is not bad. I went and started multiple games. That's where he got in trouble this year, right? But he's good for a spot start. So he's a good utility on the left side or the tackle position. But you don't want him to start multiple games in a row. He's okay to finish out a game, give a guy a break, and if you're going to carry 10, he's your 10th.
Yeah, he's the last guy you want to use. Him and what Amagaji, he needs the time to develop.
Kieran got no time to develop.
Kieran
he got thrown to the wolves on that Monday night game. And actually, he didn't do great, but I mean, he didn't have an easy task, and he did okay.
Yeah, but you don't make the comment when you get drafted, like nobody ain't gonna touch him. Like, oh, shut up, dude.
Gerald Everett. Well, I mean,
Don't
yeah, remember these guys. These guys have a little bit of an ego, as they should. You got to the NFL, you should have a little bit of an ego.
Yeah,
Gerald,
but you got to be able to back it up.
Gerald Everett, pretty good pass block grade, 72.6. Terrible run block. So did terrible run block. Mercedes Lewis, I think, still had the best. Yeah, Mercedes Lewis was still the best pass blocking tight end on this roster.
Yeah.
But Cole's the best run blocking tight end and the best receiving tight end. But we didn't use him enough. I don't know if I keep Gerald Everett.
Exactly.
I don't know if I keep Gerald Everett. Mercedes Lewis actually graded better.
It depends who's going to be our offensive coordinator. Are they the type that uses tight ends like that? Because Gerald's got 1 more year on his contract. So if you get the head coach or offensive coordinator who likes to use tight ends, which we should be, a tight end's one of fucking quarterback's favorite guys to throw to. If we do this, you might as well trade them. You're not going to use them.
Nope.
Yeah, you know what I mean? There's no point in keeping. You're paying $12 million to Cole Kmet to block.
I mean, what's funny though is that Mercedes Lewis and Gerald Everett, as far as their grades, dude, only a 20. Gerald Everett played 26 more snaps on the season, and Mercedes Lewis has a better PFF grade than he does.
I let Mercedes walk because I don't think he's not the.
Well, you know what the problem with Mercedes was? Untimely penalty.
Well, that's damn near everybody on the line.
So I wonder if Mercedes is going to try to come back. Yeah, I mean he's cheap. Maybe you bring them both back, and you bring them back and keep that tight end room cheap. If you're not drafting a tight end later in the draft, maybe compete for that third spot At wide receiver, this is going to be the interesting one. Does Keenan Allen return?
That's a hell of a question. Depends what if he wants to return. I'd like to keep him, but we don't need him. I mean, who's on the free agency market? That's what I'm looking at. Right? Is there anybody who has not maybe his big a production as he used to be, and with LA, but who's younger, and maybe a little cheaper? You know what I mean? Because he is getting old. He's one of Caleb's favorite targets. I mean, you got to take a look and see what's out there first.
So from the
right, we don't know how long Keenan's going to play.
So basically,
I think a 2-year deal for
T. Higgins.
Let's say
T. Higgins is going to be out there.
Or $32 million.
T. Higgins,
that's not a
T.
bad
Higgins
deal.
might not be a free agent, but he's slated to be. Chris Godwin,
he's going to cost way too much.
Well, no, they're saying that he's going to cost about $28 million a year. Godwin's going to cost about $20, but I don't think Tampa's going to let him walk. Amari Cooper is going to be out there, but he's going to be about $17 million a year. Stephon Diggs is going to be about $16 million a year. He's 31. Cooper's 30. D-Hop is 32. He's going to be about 13 a year. And actually, the PFF doesn't even have Swift in the top 25 overall. I mean, if D-Hop is going to get 2 years at 13 mil, and he's the last of the receivers on that list of their top 25, you could maybe say that Keenan is going to go for about a 2-year, $13 million a year average. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, 13 mil for 2 years would be 26 million. Yeah, that's fine. That's a.
I mean, if you look at Keenan,
that's if he wants to stay, though. That's only if he wants to stay. If he doesn't want to stay, then just let him go. We'll take our draft pick.
Keenan's numbers this year.
What's he got? Like 700 yards, 800 yards?
That's just his grade. Let me see if I can bring up this.
And here's the thing. Everybody's like, "Oh, Kittle's a bust. He can't even get his receivers 1,000 yards." Look at all three of them. Each of them has what? I think Rome has like 700.
Yeah, he ended up with over 800 yards, just over 800. DJ just missed 1,000.
That what that tells you right there? He spreads.
He had 744 yards and 7 touchdowns this year.
That's a good rookie season.
No, Keenan,
for a number 3 on the team.
Keenan was 744 and 7.
Okay, the ball was getting spread around. There were some, and some of it was his fault. He did drop a lot of balls.
He did have some drops. He had 8 drops on the year. Well, here's the season stats: 117 targets, 70 receptions, 744 yards, 7 touchdowns, 8 drops, 10.6 yards per reception, 3.4 yards per yak. Passer rating when target was a 98.4. Average depth of target 10.1 yards. And we should add one.
He only had 8 drops for the season.
That's it. According to PFF. Some things that we as fans may consider drops, they may not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. There was times where Caleb overthrew guys.
So, but dude, that's like good numbers.
No, that's good numbers, yeah. Especially with a rookie spreading the ball around like he did. What did Komet end up with? Probably like 600.
I will tell you in a second. Let me pull him up. Komet, though, I'm going to tell you it's not going to be much. Komet is in review. All right, Cole Komet on the year. 55 targets, 47 receptions, 474 receiving yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 drop, 10.1 yards per reception. His yards after the catch are 4 yards. Passer rating when targeted, 119.2.
That boy's got some hands
Average
on him.
depth of target, 7.
And that was an issue with him coming his first year. He kept on dropping a lot of shit.
I mean, it's just interesting though because they didn't target him. That you think he'd get targeted more. Roma Dunze, because I know you want to know his end of year. Rome's end of year. Wait, here. This season stats: 96 targets, 54 receptions, 734 yards, 3 touchdowns, 5 drops, 13.6 yards per reception, 4.8 yards after catch. Passer rating when targeted, 86.9. Average depth of target, though, was 14.2. He had 3 carries for 15 yards, 5 yards per attempt, and 2 missed tackles. He forced 2 missed tackles. Yep.
He had a solid rookie season.
Yep.
For being a number 2 or number 3, whatever he is in his rookie year. We expect that to get a whole lot better. There are some guys that were disappointing. I think one of the bigger disappointments was Tremaine Edmonds. He wasn't as an impact. I think, in my opinion, he was one of the because Pulse paid him a lot of money, and we didn't see like last year the production from him like this year, or from last year's production to coming into this year. He didn't live up to that money.
So,
I mean, and you know what? It also the defensive line that needs, I think Dexter was probably the brightest spot on the offensive line or defensive line.
But here's some interesting. He had 76 solo tackles, 30 assisted, 1 forced fumble, 34 stops, 1 sack. He had 10 missed tackles. Passer rating allowed was 92.9, 4 pressures. He ranked 12th in the NFL with being in the game for 1,055 snaps, which is wow. I mean, he's healthy. He's in there, but let me do the comparison of him. Last year, wow.
Big difference?
Not the way you think, man. So his PFF last year for 2023 was a 56.6. This year was a 59.3. He actually graded better.
So he was just slightly better.
Graded better. Yeah. And Edwards, let me look at Edwards. It's probably about the same. Edwards, though. Edwards the last year was a 79.6. This year is a 61.4.
Yeah, he dropped off quite a bit.
I think, though, part of that, though, was the way the defense played this year. They were really bad on the run. I think when Flus was calling the defense, it got worse after we fired Flus. But I think even the way he was calling the defense this year was subtly different, and it worked well for the team, but not for certain position groups. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah.
We did a lot of nickel.
Having Brisker out.
We did a lot of nickel this year. We did a lot of prevent this year. Sweat played injured a lot of the year. So I mean, that's the other piece we got to get is we need another edge, and there's some good edges we can get. Let me bring up the edges. The edge rushers, there are some good ones.
There's gonna be some. A lot of people. I got a buddy who's like, "You guys want to get Jadeveon Clowney?" I'm like, "No, he's too old."
So Khalil Mack at 33.8 years of age, of course, is a free agent. Some people said, "Oh, bring him back."
Bear fans would love to have him back.
But 33.8 years old. Josh Sweat.
Get up there.
Josh Sweat would be one I'd want for Philly, but I don't know if Philly lets him go. Hassan Reddick is going to be a free agent at 30 years old, but I don't know if I'd want Reddick. Malcolm Kuntz from the Raiders. Now, he missed the entire season, right, because of injury. But in 2023, I mean, his PFF in 2023 was an 81.3. He was 22 of 112 edge rushers in the NFL. but he had a knee injury, so he was out. But there are going to be some other pass rushers available, or theoretically possible. So, look, in theory, we could at least we're going to get at least a pass rusher or an O line guy in free agency. I think there's going to be room to pick up at least one of those guys in free agency, if not multiple, especially with the money we've got. The question is more about, and this is where Bears fans got to understand, it's not that if Poles doesn't sign an offensive lineman, it's not because he sucks. It's because there's nothing to sign that's better than what you've already got. And
Right.
same with an edge rusher. If he doesn't sign an edge, it's because there's nothing to sign. And yeah, but what about this 35-year-old guy? Well, that's still another reason. He's not going. Foles doesn't spend big money on old guys. Just doesn't. I mean, I think there's some exceptions to policy. Khalil Mack could theoretically be one of those exceptions to policy. Keenan Allen obviously was this year, trading for him being as old as he is. So we know that there's an exception to policy with Foles. Because before that Keenan Allen trade, man, if you were over the age of 30, like you want nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
So, because remember, he's looking to build longevity. But I think this year, though, we might see that slip up a little bit because while I kind of had a feeling his job was to be safe this year. This year he's got to put a team on the field that's more complete. So I think he's going to be willing to spend money on an older guy versus not spending it at all, or spending a little money on a younger guy hoping he works out. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
So, I mean, the Packers game showed this is a good roster. It was not a bad roster this year.
No, and the media talks about like this is a good roster. They're not disciplined.
And we heard that from the players themselves.
You hear the guys. Yeah, we heard that from the players. Demarcus Walker talked about it in the locker room. He's like, guys, just do it, and nobody says anything. So we need that person to get on their ass, pretty much.
Well, speaking of that guy, you saw who we interviewed today, right?
Yeah, Rabel got interviewed today. That's the guy who will do it. If anybody knows, Walker knows that. He won't let that shit fly.
There are a couple guys in this team that had him as coach before. The other one, another guy. This was another guy that was a good pickup for the Bears this year was Kevin Byard. And Byard said, "Look, he ain't gonna play." Byard's like, "This dude does not play," and gave him a ring in the door. And Byard's under contract for next year. I see no reason to get rid of him. Same thing with Jonathan Owens. I see no reason to get rid of him. Jonathan Owens came up with some big plays. Elijah Hicks, I keep him. I keep Tremaine Edmonds.
Blackwell's going to stay.
I mean, these guys all played well, but going back to what we were talking about, is Byard, he played for him.
Mm-hmm. Knows what to expect. If he comes.
There you go, Phil.
And
Philip says, at least the Bears are not the Raiderettes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Byard was a good pickup.
The Raiders need they fired Pierce,
Yeah, they
right?
fired
Antonio
AP.
Pierce.
Yeah, which it's funny because I don't know if you saw the picture from the morning show. Did you see the morning show picture? I said,
so.
you may be cool, but are you AP rocking the old school starter jacket cool?
Oh, yeah, I saw that. I ain't gonna lie, that starter jacket looks awesome.
And then they fired him the next day, and all the rumors now with they called Belichick, Brady called Belichick, and okay.
Vrabel, that connection.
Well, yeah, but Vrabel,
who knows?
Vrabel's going anywhere. But Vrabel though today was the interviewee. Tomorrow, is it tomorrow? Yeah.
Tomorrow's Pete Carroll.
Tomorrow, yeah. Saturday is Ben Johnson. I'd be happy with Carroll too.
Well, the way I think of it is Ben Johnson's probably number one, right?
No,
And a lot of
not
Bears
necessarily.
fans,
Well, amongst the fan base, I
most
would
of the
say
fan
yes,
base and
but
the
not
media,
by a
Ben
big
Johnson's number
margin.
one.
And that conversation, following the fan base on X at least, has the rhetoric for the Johnsonettes has died down a little.
The Johnson
They've
Nets.
died.
Well, because we don't know exact if he's a leader of men or just a good play caller.
So
Nagy
here's
was not a leader of men, but he was a great play
the
caller.
list right now. We requested an interview with Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator of the Bills. Thomas Brown is going to get an interview at some point. Pete Carroll is tomorrow. Brian,
Thomas Brown probably already had his.
yeah, all right. Hey, you know what Thomas Brown? Look at your polls, and you ask Thomas Brown, why should I keep you as a head coach? Because I beat them.
Because it's not my
No, because I beat the Packers. That's all he's got to say.
Well, yeah, definitely.
With someone else's playbook.
But they're gonna want more than that, though. But I would definitely, that'd be one thing I say. But I'd be like, hey, this is not my playbook. This is Waldron's.
Two interviews tomorrow. Actually, got Pete Carroll tomorrow and Mike Kafka, who's of course a Northwestern grad, the offensive coordinator for the Giants. We asked to interview Pete. We asked to interview Brian Flores. We asked to interview Aaron Glenn. We asked to interview Ben Johnson. I think Glenn and Johnson, I know we're interviewing, or both of those guys are being interviewed on the 11th on Saturday. So both those guys are on Saturday. It's expected that the Bears will interview Kingsbury. I'm not sure if there was a date for that yet. Monacan requested an interview with him. Drew Petzig, we interviewed yesterday or today.
That was the New York Giants,
no,
right?
he's the guy from the coordinator from the Cardinals. And when you look at the picture,
that's
if he
right.
basically had blue skin, he'd be Megamind.
Well, I was talking to somebody else about this, and I said, "What? They have like 13 guys they're interviewing." I get
David
it.
Shaw, the senior personnel executive.
But there's some guys you should not be
David
interviewing.
Shaw, the senior personnel executive for the Broncos. I don't know what they're interviewing him for, but they're interviewing him. Could it be maybe to have that position here in Chicago? That could be it. Anthony Weaver, the defensive coordinator for the Dolphins, we did a request.
Oh yeah, because the Dolphins' defense is elite.
They're good, yeah. And then there was one. Actually,
no, that was a joke.
But they're actually pretty good though. They've actually the problem with their defense.
They're not wild.
The problem with their defense has been injury. Like last year, they had a really good.
Oh, look at Detroit. They get all the fucking injuries, and they're
they lost like their big. I opened the wrong thing. They lost their big production guy, all of them.
Damien, I would rather have Ben
Iowa
Johnson,
State,
Aaron Glenn,
Matt Campbell is expected to meet with the Bears as well.
I'm with you, Damien.
So a college coach. There's a college coach.
Nope, don't want him. I don't want college coaches. I don't want first-time head coaches. We need a culture setter. That is what we lack.
Playing 3 coaches now on the roster, soon a new coach. Are we gonna? No, I don't think we owe Brown any money at the end of the year.
No, yeah, this is
Nagy. Nagy, we're not paying Nagy anymore.
No, Nagy's contract ended 2 years ago. We're paying Eberflus
next 2
for at least one more year
because he had a 5-year deal.
Yeah. Did you happen to catch Poles' press conference
yesterday? Yeah, I caught parts of it. That and George.
Yeah, I was like, dude, nobody's asking you how much money you're making. We just want to know if you got how long your term is going to be here.
I think it's dependent. It's kind of like it's a contract year. I mean, I like the way Warren's doing it in a way. It's a contract year. Like, show me that you're worth the extension. Make it a contract year. At the same time, it could blow up in Warren's face. And Poles could decide to walk next year and get a big, massive paycheck somewhere else if it works out this year. I don't think Poles.
Well, the fact that George is going to be on the panel.
No, George has nothing to do. I love this.
He's gonna be. He's
No, he's
gonna be
not.
there.
He said he's not. He said
Yeah, he said he was gonna be. Ryan said he was
no,
gonna be there.
no. Here's what McCaskey said himself. I heard him to the media. They asked him, "Well, George, how is this hire going to be any different from the other ones?" He's like, "Well, Ryan has, his stuff in place." Basically, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but basically, he said, "Hey, Ryan's got his procedures in place and the way he's going to do it, and this is Ryan's show, and he's going to have um, Warren there, right, to mentor and give feedback. And Ryan, this is gonna be on Ryan's decision, and Ryan's gonna hire who he wants to hire. So George, how's this gonna be different? I was waiting for George to say, look, here's how it's gonna be different. I'm not gonna be anywhere near this thing because I don't want you guys blaming me for it if it goes wrong. But he said, I'm gonna be nowhere near this.
Well, because I remember they said something about Bill Polian being. He's like, if Ryan wants him there, Ryan ain't gonna want his ass.
But that's
there.
what he said to the meeting. Now, if Ryan asks him, hey, what do you think of this guy? I'm sure he'll offer up his 2 cents. Oh, Broski's back again. But this is Brian Poles' show to run. I get why you're interviewing so many guys. I don't mind casting the wide net and getting. There's a lot of positive. Look, we're not losing out on anyone today, tomorrow, Saturday. If your guy's Ben Johnson, you can't even hire him until Detroit's eliminated, which is at least at the earliest a week from Monday is when you could hire him. That's at the earliest. So you're not missing out. So why not interview guys? Why not? Why not? Because some of these guys are going to say things in this interview that they can lock away in the little vault and say, when we interviewed this cat, he said he would try this with Caleb. I wonder if that would work for us. And then try it. Steal idea. Luke Getzey is not getting an interview with you.
Luke gets it nowhere near Chicago.
Did anyone give Caleb the right to have an opinion on this? I don't think so.
No, he's a rookie.
No, I'll tell you what, though, like when it comes to Kingsbury, I think Foles will ask him, hey, what was it like playing for the guy? I mean, I would expect him to do that. Like, hey, you played for him in college. What was he like? I would expect that.
I would say, how much contact did you and Cliff have? Because he was what, like a assistant somewhere in the assistant passing game coordinator or something like that.
I think of that of any coach that we're looking at that players have had previous contact with as a player to coach. So like that like Foles probably asked Byard, hey, what do you think of Rabel? And he gave his opinion probably. If Foles didn't already take what he said in the media. So I mean I think that's smart though for GM to do. Say, hey, what did you think of this guy when he coached you? Or guys that used to play for him. I mean some of that happens. I mean I think Vrabel is a good interview today. I don't know if Vrabel is going to be the guy in New England. It looks that way. You would think so with him having won 3 rings there and how quickly they gave up on their coach with Vrabel being there. But you can never tell in this league, man. Lovey, no. I'm not. I don't want Lovey.
I think Lovey enjoying his retirement.
Yeah, A, I don't think Lovey wants to come back to coaching, and B, my biggest problem with Lovey's always been he never hired good offensive coordinators. Ever. Yes, he did hire Mike Martz, and Mike Martz was horrendously terrible for the Bears because we didn't have the personnel for his type of offense. And we still don't have the personnel for his type of offense. There you go. He was a senior offensive analyst.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Broski. They need somebody who can develop a quarterback. Do we think Ben Johnson can develop Caleb?
Question.
We don't have that answer because Jared Goff was already Jared Goff. He already went to the Super Bowl with the Rams. He was already established. We know Pete Carroll. The thing about Pete Carroll, he acts younger than what he is.
Dude, he looks like he's 60. He's 73. Right? And the thing is, the guy was an offensive coordinator at one point in his career. Then he was a defensive coordinator in the NFL before he became a head coach. He's a defensive head coach, but he's got offensive experience. And he's always worked well with his quarterback. They call him He's called a quarterback whisperer. He's one of 4 coaches to ever win an NCAA championship and a Lombardi. He's got the pedigree.
But when it comes down
The
to
age.
it, if let's say Ben Johnson's coach won,
The
right?
problem with it,
And let's say
yeah,
he bails, you still have like probably 3 or 4 other
So on-
options that are not
Ben
bad.
Johnson, for me, here are the negatives. One, you don't know how, okay, we know he can call cool plays because I'm on St. Brown says he draws off the coolest plays. And the guys from the Detroit offense love him. They love his play calling. Okay, cool. How's he as a head coach? Right? What's his culture going to be?
Yep.
What's that coaching tree like? Because he's going to be the first one to get a job out of it, right? And he's a first-time head coach, and a lot of Bears fans are like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, but 3 of our last 4 were first-time NFL coaches, and they went terrible. The only one who was experienced was John Fox, and I think we did more to sabotage him than the other way around.
Yeah.
Because we drafted the quarterback Fox didn't want. And here was a guy who had great success before Chicago.
Yeah, he wanted Watson, right?
No, he wanted Mahomes.
Did he want Mahomes? I thought he wanted Watson.
But then we fired him. But so I mean, once again, I mean, that's why I look more at the experienced guys like Vrabel and Carroll as they would be my first choices. And then I would look at Ben Johnson of coordinators. I think or Flores would be a good choice too. Yeah, he's defensive, but he was pretty. His defense is pretty damn good, and he didn't do terrible. He was really pre-Tua. The whole tank for Tua thing.
Yeah, the whole Tua thing, that I do agree he deserves a second chance, but I don't trust him to develop Kale. I think he was more worried about his defensive side than actually being a head coach. That's what scares me about him. Yeah, we would, we would have an excellent defense. But look, we already had that with Flus,
You're still
and that didn't lead us anywhere.
John Gruden, like his name came up last week a little bit before the season ended. A couple reports where people said, "Oh, his name is being tossed around by teams." Gruden, we know was at Halas Hall like a week or 2 ago. We don't know what he was in Chicago for, but he was there. Maybe he already interviewed.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe he was one of the first ones that get interviewed.
Wouldn't that be a shocker?
Nobody's saying anything
about
it.
Next week,
that would be a shocker.
I know, I know, bro.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's got head coaching experience. That's why of the coordinators, I think that's why he would probably he might get a head coaching job first out of the coordinators because of the prior head coaching experience. But he's also got the thing with the NFL, but that should be over this summer because that's when arbitration should happen. Yeah, Eric Bieniemy. I mean, his name, you haven't heard Bieniemy's name.
Yeah. See, I see Flores. If Zach Taylor got fired by Cincinnati, I could see Flores running that because he would turn that defense around, and he probably would get a solid OC.
I mean, look, you haven't heard Salah's name at all.
Burrow.
You haven't heard Flus's name at all.
Saleh just had an interview.
Right. Saleh did get an interview, but he's ended up
the Saints, right?
I think it might have been, but I think
or Jacksonville. I think it was Jacksonville.
Yeah, I think he'll end up at DC again, still with Flus. And they'll do okay. It'd be funny if Flus ended up to DC and Detroit or Minnesota because their guys leave. Be smart. I'll tell you what, though, it'd be smart because they played the same base defense that we do. You could just step right in, and the enemy might be some headaches too because he left college. Like it was a mutual parting, right? So there's always that little question: why did the enemy leave his coaching gig in college? So, I mean, but yeah,
he wants to get back in the NFL. We get it.
Or
just the same reason for Pete Carroll leaving as a teacher. He wants to get back in the NFL. He wants to head coach again. I get it.
Kingsbury will probably has a good shot actually as well as getting a job. I mean, he's got a good opportunity to get another gig.
Kingsbury's probably like number 4 or 5
Arthur Smith.
on my list.
This would be another shot for him.
Nope, don't want him.
Oh, and of course, the other news.
Rex Ryan is an old dog who you can't teach new tricks. He's old school.
I want to know where you saw that Rex Ryan was interested in the Chicago Bears job. He's talking like he's already the head coach of the New York Jets.
Yeah, I heard the Jets are
like
maybe.
You listened to his interview on ESPN the other day on the radio. He sounded like he's already the Jets coach. Like he already knows they're going to hire him. I mean, it's really weird with that whole reunion going on there. Yeah, I mean that Kafka, he's a smart guy too. Kafka's a smart guy from Northwestern. I could see, I mean, that's
totally different. I don't want college head coaches. I don't want first time college. I think if you're a college head coach, you should come in as an OC or a DC. Do that for some
like
years.
With Kafka, it's not like New York's offense has been lighting it up. Gruden is like Urban Meyer.
The same, but Urban Myers could not handle offense. He could not be a head coach. He kicked his fucking kicker.
But wouldn't it be funny though if like next Wednesday or Thursday, whatever, the Bears hold a press conference? Okay, surprise, John Gruden's our head coach.
I think some of the fan base will be like, "Yep, did not see that coming." But what if it was like the guy in Arizona? They hire him. We'd be like, "Yep, we saw that coming." Like, duh.
I mean, look at Ben Johnson. For me, I don't think he gets the Chicago job just because everyone thinks he's going to get it. To me, when the conventional wisdom of every talking head on ESPN, Fox, NFL Network, and everywhere else is that Ben Johnson is going to end up somewhere, then Ben Johnson doesn't end up there.
Yep. And I heard the Saints said they weren't going to interview Ben Johnson. I was like, oh, that just tells me you guys tried to call him.
Well, dude, he only accepted 2 interviews, which, see, that's the thing with Vrabel. So everyone thinks Vrabel is going to New England, right? Ben Johnson got several requests for interviews. He accepted 2. Chicago and New England were the only 2 he accepted. That's it.
Yeah, you need that dog in Vrabel to compete in the North. I mean, if he goes to the New England, he's only got to worry about what, Buffalo, Miami, really.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I think the reason he looks at Chicago and he looks at New England is because of the quarterback situation. Young quarterback. They've got franchise quarterbacks in place, as far as he's concerned. Fans might not think that Drake May and Caleb are franchise quarterbacks, especially if you're John Dorn. But
John, he's a bust. You got beat by that bust.
But more importantly, Ben Johnson thinks they are, and I think that's why those 2 places are appealing to him, and not. I don't think Jacksonville even asked, which is funny because
Jacksonville.
I mean, they've got Trevor Lawrence. I'm not saying he's good, but they're kind of stuck with him. But there were reports last week having Ben Johnson basically being a done deal. To Jacksonville. So I don't know. I think.
See, the thing about Jacksonville, if you're the head coach, how much do you trust in T-Law? Right? How much do you trust? They paid him a lot of money. Do you really trust him? He's taking away. We'll see. They have a solid running back. Not in
they got
what's
NTN,
that one guy?
They got some players there.
Bisbee's good. They got a Brian Thomas Jr., excellent wide receiver.
You know what though, Damien, we talked about it on the morning show, and Broski can tell you this. A lot of us on the morning show think that Flores might end up in NOLA. That he might be willing to do the rebuild in NOLA.
Well, if you want that second chance, you're going to do whatever. You're going to rebuild if you have to. I mean, Derek Carr is gone. Kamara is gone. Taysom Hill is gone. You get rid of those big contracts, and you start over.
So we'll talk more about this stuff on Sunday, guys. Don't forget Ken and Ken in the morning, every morning at 10 a.m. Central, 11 on the East. We've got Halas Report this Sunday at 11 a.m. Central, noon on the East, and we'll talk about some playoff games, talk some more stuff about what's going on in the Bears. Thank you, Bear Down Mike, for being here tonight. if by voice only,
No problem.
it was good to have you here tonight. And this way, you guys,
He might have guy
yeah,
hanging
you guys would have heard
himself,
me
so.
chattering into the empty universe. But I hope everyone has enjoyed the season. We beat the Packers. That's what we cared about. And we'll
We got that monkey
yeah,
off our
monkey's
back.
off our back.